Awesome. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Faith for Harris press conference. Today, we are celebrating that thousands of religious leaders around this country have chosen to openly endorse Kamala Harris for president. So let's hear it, crowd. Faith for Harris. So, normally religious leaders don't endorse necessarily in the open, but we feel like this election is so pressing, that the issues before our country are so pressing, and that Kamala Harris is the person who embodies our values of freedom, compassion, the common good, and love of neighbor. Faith for Harris? So we have several speakers for you today that represent the various traditions that have been signing on to endorse Kamala Harris. The first is Rabbi Lauren Henderson. She's going to come up first. Then we have Amin Ghanem, who is a Muslim and an organizer. Habib, who is with the Jewish Democratic Women's Salon. And then we have Reverend Rob Carr, who is a former pastor, Baptist pastor. So they'll come up in that order. Rabbi, thank you.
Good afternoon. So I'm a rabbi in Sandy Springs, but most importantly, I'm a mom of 2 Jewish boys, and I brought my 2-month-old son, Amit, with me today. And I want to tell you a little bit about his name, how he chose his name, and how his name is very deeply connected to why I'll be voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Amit, in the book of Leviticus, is a word for friend, companion, kinsperson. And it's the word that's used most commonly to talk about how we relate to each other in a shared society, how we build bonds of love and companionship, and how we support one another, even despite our differences. And I said at his bris, at his baby naming 7 weeks ago, that the values that we wanted to instill in him and his brother were about concentric circles of love and community. That to be an Amit, to be a kinsperson, to be a neighbor, a friend, a companion, is to know that you are a part of concentric circles of community. That love starts at home, that God willing, we learn how to love from our parents, our grandparents, and that love radiates outward to our neighbors, our communities of faith, our peoples, knowing that we are part of networks of people all around this globe. I am a part of the Jewish faith and the Jewish people, and that love is proud and deep, and I want my sons, I want my family to know that faith means protecting one another and standing by each other. But it doesn't mean just caring about the communities that we're a part of or the people that we know or the people that we have the most in common with. It means loving one another in the largest of ways, feeling a connection with all humanity, with all life. And I know that is what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz stand for as well. We decided to have another child after the tragic events last year of October 7th, when so much of the Jewish community throughout the world was in deep pain after so many were murdered by Hamas in Israel. And we wanted to teach this kind of love that was a deep love for our fellow Jews and a deep love for Israelis and Palestinians, and that love radiates beyond. We learn it here and we teach it outward. I know that is the vision that our vice president has for this country, and I know that this vision is shared by all of us here today. So I want to end with a prayer. We're in the midst of the Jewish holiday of Sukkot right now. Sukkot, which is a celebration of joy, Zman Simchatenu. We're feeling the joy here today. And it's also a celebration and an acknowledgement of our deep vulnerability as human beings and the fact that we need each other. So we say in Hebrew, Ufros Aleinu Sukkot Shlomecha. We ask God, we ask the divine to spread over all of us, truly all of us, a shelter of your peace. God, please spread all over us, all of us, the shelter of your peace. Help us build a world of love and compassion, of joy, of peace and safety for all. And let us say, Amen.
Hi, all. My name is Amin Gonaim. Don't necessarily consider myself a faith leader, such as these distinguished folks up here, but I am a Egyptian immigrant Muslim dude that grew up not far from here and got pretty involved in politics. So I'll tell you really just the bit about why, given the tradition I was brought up in here, why I am easily behind Harris this year. The Arab community, take care of your elders. You're brought up in kind of intergenerational homes with grandparents around, parents around. You're brought up, especially as an immigrant, to kind of like respect the society that you're living in, especially if it's one that's maybe foreign to you or different than your culture. And that's why I'm a proud Democrat, is because Democrats are the party of multiculturalism. They're the party of, anybody can come to an America, have a fair shot at being included in politics, in the economy, in social life generally. And that's what I was raised to believe in, and why I'm supporting Harris this year. The vice president has a couple of great policies, really, that go directly to the core of these kind of teachings, like Medicare, being able to take care of folks later in their lives. Like, that's a big thing that helps with immigrant families that tend to very much try to be close-knit with their elders and take care of our older folks. That one's huge. Like right now, I had a grandparent that got ill when I was a teenager. We had to care for him towards the end of his life. Makes it hard if people are shouldering that burden by themselves, and I think that's a huge policy. And really, again, this is just about who's willing to include me at the table, who's willing to give me a seat. Like I said, I've worked in Democratic politics for several cycles now, and as a bearded Muslim kid, middle name Muhammad, like I was able to rise in the ranks of Democratic politics. I've gotten to work on some cool campaigns with some big names that you'd recognize, and that's who gave me a shot to make a difference, and I've gotten to see that difference happen in real life. So I'm proud to be behind the Harris Waltz tickets this year. I think we got a good shot of keeping Georgia blue if we rally all these different constituencies and communities that we need. And I appreciate the chance to be here today. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is Valerie Habeth, and I'm honored to be part of the 1,000 faith leaders endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris. In 2012, we founded Jewish Democratic Women's Salon here in Atlanta because we felt compelled to give voice to the basic values Jewish women hold most dear, including our desire to advance health care for all Americans and to protect and advocate for reproductive rights, to protect our children and families from gun violence, to advance public education, to protect immigration and voting rights, and so much more. We never dreamed that the work we were doing here in Georgia would have a national impact, but 2020 happened. Now it's 2024, and Jewish women in Georgia are being called upon once more to play a pivotal role in the outcome of our national election. Vice President Harris is the only candidate who upholds our Jewish values, and we are proud to do the work to assure that she is the next president of our United States. Don't you just love the sound of Madam President? As Jewish women, we have watched with horror at the escalation of hate and anti-Semitism within the borders of our country. We know that hate spreads with the contagion of a virulent virus. Donald Trump has played a significant role in spreading that hate, beginning with his initial attacks on immigrants and then on Muslims, and most recently on Haitian refugees. There is no vaccine for the hate that he spews, and no one is immune from it. As Jews, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Most recently, Donald Trump fanned the flames of hate when he supported the power trope that is at the core of anti-Semitism conspiracy theory. He said that he would blame American Jews if he lost. Vice President Harris and Second Gentleman Douglas Emhoff have led the first ever national strategy to counter anti-Semitism. This strategy mobilizes over 24 federal agencies and contains over 100 specific, actionable steps to end this oldest hate and prevent future anti-Semitic attacks. As Jewish women, we believe that access to health care is a basic human right, and that access to abortion care is an essential component of women's health care. Donald Trump has promised to reverse the Affordable Health Care Act, which seeks to assure that every American has access to preventive health care. Donald Trump has taken responsibility for the overturning of Roe, the constitutional decision that gave women the right to make their own reproductive choices. Donald Trump has taken that personal right from women and handed it over to our state legislators, and we have all seen the consequences. Vice President Harris is committed to restoring reproductive rights nationwide because state borders shouldn't be the difference in whether women live or die simply because of a lack of access to standard reproductive care. As Jewish women, we believe our daughters and granddaughters should have the same rights that we grew up with, not fewer. Weeks ago, due to the bans that Trump's appointed judges made possible, Amber Thurman died because she could not access abortion care right here in Georgia. She waited 20 hours for doctors to finally operate on her, and when they did, it was too late. She leaves behind a 6-year-old son. As Jewish women, our children's health is among our highest priorities. Firearm-related injury is the #1 cause of death among children and teens in the United States and in Georgia. We want to see sensible gun legislation that prioritizes the care of our children. She wants to see legislation that prioritizes the care of our children as much as we do. Vice President Harris supports a ban on assault weapons, a ban that has been shown by history to reduce mass shootings. After a school shooting in Iowa, Trump horrifyingly told his supporters, "We have to get over it." On September 4th, 2024, 2 Georgia students and 2 teachers were murdered in their classrooms. We will never get over it. Our Jewish values emphasize that education will always be the great equalizer. Donald Trump and his friends at the Heritage Foundation want to destroy the Department of Education, ban books, and censor what our children learn. Vice President Harris and her running mate, Governor Tim Walz, want to strengthen our schools and pay teachers a living wage. As Jewish women, we see voting as an investment in our democracy. Trump has baselessly cast doubt on election integrity in Georgia, threatened Georgia Republicans to find him votes, and cheered on members of Georgia's unelected state election board who are making it harder to vote. Vice President Harris will protect our democracy by passing a new Voting Rights Act named after our beloved John Lewis. These laws are designed to enshrine voting rights protections, to expand vote by mail, early voting, and more. Our vote is our voice, and we have something to say. We believe that across all faiths, we are united by more than divides us, and we are committed to the idea that our faith-based values must rise above our partisan loyalty. We are lending our support to Vice President Harris because we can count on her to uphold those values by putting human compassion and concern for the other above the ego and personal ambition that is and always has been the hallmark of Donald Trump's campaign. To put it simply, we are joyful warriors for the Harris-Wallace campaign because Kamala cares. And nobody, absolutely nobody, would ever say that about the other guy. Thank you.
These are incredible messages for an incredible time. Those of you who are with us in the streaming, you're probably making a decision within the few minutes after you come on as to whether or not you're going to continue to watch or listen, to pay attention, but I hope you are, because these things are truths that need to be said, heard, and understood and followed. This past Friday, my wife and I went where we live in Forsyth County, and we placed our vote. We voted, and while as a pastor, a former pastor, I will tell you that it's not in my prerogative just to tell you what I did or how I did it, because pastors many times need to be sensitive to their congregation as to the beliefs. But these are different times. These are different times. And so I'm going to give you a peek, just a little bit of a peek of what I did when I was in the voting booth. So I went in and I saw the screen, put my little card in, and I saw the options. But this is what I did. I voted for the one who was coherent. I voted for the one who was consistent. I was the one who voted for the one who was compassionate. I voted for the one who was a constitutionalist. I voted for the one who believed and supports choices for women. I voted for the one who was cogent. You can look that one up, by the way, if you need to. I also believed and voted for the one who is constructive, the one who was and is a critical thinker. And then I pressed the button and voted for her, and now you know who I voted for. My friends, we live, and I would say this as a pastor, when I was at Indian Creek in DeKalb County, we knew the tensions. We knew what we were up against. We knew that it was hard, and when they called me to this church, they said, "We're ready to die. Would you just come up and do the eulogy?" And I said, "No, I didn't come here to let a church die. I wanted to open this church up to the possibilities of what faith, hope, and love could do." And we opened it. We took the boards off the windows. We put in new flooring. We fixed the air conditioning. We said, everyone is welcome. And they came. But we are living in times just as I experienced at Indian Creek, where there's a lot of tension, anxiety, and the feeling of just don't know what to do. I'm so tired. I'm so tired of the statistics or what I'm hearing. I know what I believe in, but people are very anxious to change my mind. And so I refer back to a time when I spoke on this very briefly, and now I'm at Johns Creek Baptist Church in Forsyth County. I spoke about the 23rd Psalm, where the Good Shepherd takes his sheep, who loves his sheep, defends his sheep, cares for his sheep, and he brings his sheep to the green grass and the still waters where the soul can literally be renewed. And yet we can't stay there. And I told my congregation this, we can't stay there because we must learn to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Now, I did remind them, we don't camp there, we don't stay there, we don't park there, we move through it. And as we move it and move through it, we are reminded that you are with me. The ultimate you, meaning God. But I want y'all to know, alone, when I feel disheartened, I feel like it's time to give up, I don't know what else I can do, I need you and you and you to be with me too. That's what's important. It's not only having God there to comfort me and to bring me solace, but we need each other to do that. I want to remind you, and if you have time, my pastor Sean King at Johns Creek Baptist Church this past Sunday did a sermon on solitude and what it needs to break away from all of the activity, the stresses, the things that causes us just to go, I want to give up. He preached that sermon. You can go to jcbc.org. You can hear that. He's done the most eloquent and the best view of that approach to what it means to sometimes take a breath, get renewed. But you know what, my friends, and this is what I want to leave you with, because as we work together, as we unite together, as we come together to help each other out of despair and frustration, we can now talk about being overcomers. We are now overcomers. We can overcome these things that we're facing, and we can see victory, and we will prevail because we are doing it in a united focus of diversity, every faith, everybody coming together so that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz can take their rightful place in the White House come next year, and we will be cheering that on. And let's help others to do that, first of all, by you voting, if you haven't done that yet, but also to get somebody there that will vote too. We hope for a great year in 2025. God bless you, and thank you all for listening, and thank you all for staying with us on this streaming time. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Doug Padet. It's such an honor to be with this group of people. Thank you to all of you who have expressed your faith. As an evangelical pastor, it is my privilege to travel the country and to invite people from my religious tradition to join those of common good faith in voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Now, a lot of people in my faith tradition as evangelicals have been told for 40 plus years that there's only one candidate you can vote for and keep your faith, and that would be any Republican on the ballot. And we believe that in this election, Kamala Harris will receive more votes from evangelicals than any presidential candidate since Jimmy Carter, because there is a movement afoot for people of common good faith and common goodwill and common good hope to vote for Kamala Harris. I have had the privilege of voting for Kamala Harris twice, in 2020 and a week ago. I've had the privilege of voting for Tim Walz 3 times. Twice as my governor in Minnesota and once a week ago. And it feels very empowering to say yes to that movement, to say yes to Kamala Harris and to Tim Walz, and frankly, for me to say no to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, I never thought I would say this to my evangelical friends, but I'm proud to say it. Would you please, if you consider yourself to be a Christian, conservative, Republican, just be like Mike Pence and say no to the man who he used to work for. If you find yourself as a deep-hearted, caring, conservative Republican, would you be like Dick Cheney and his daughter Liz Cheney and say no to the person whom they used to support? If you find yourself as someone who has never voted before and you don't know what to do next, would you join this great community of people who are saying together that all of us can join together in another political movement, recognizing that there is no perfect candidate? I ran for office in 2010, and for one brief period of time, there was one candidate with whom I agreed with on all the topics. And I do not agree with that candidate any longer. No candidate is perfect. No voter is perfect. But we ask you all simply, maybe you're not ready to become a Democrat, but we're asking you to vote for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz in this election. Thank you for being a part of this movement. Thank you for being a part of this live stream, where we're so proud to announce that more than 1,000 faith leaders from across faiths in the United States have been willing to publicly raise their voices and say yes to supporting Kamala Harris, and we hope you will join us. And you, of course, can do so at kamalaharris.com. Thank you.
All right. In a remarkable demonstration of unity and support, over thousands of faith leaders from diverse religious backgrounds have announced their endorsement of Vice President Kamala Harris for President of the United States. Woo! Yes! Faith for Harris, this unprecedented coalition underscores the significant role that spiritual leadership plays in shaping the political landscape, particularly in a time of polarization and division. The endorsement reflects not only the faith leaders' commitment to social justice, equality, and community empowerment, but also our belief that Harris embodies the moral and ethical values essential for effective leadership. Her track record on the issues resonate deeply as a champion for those who are marginalized and an advocate for a more just society for all. Look behind me at the diversity of coalition of faith leaders that are representing various denominations, faith traditions, representative of various communities. And this is important because it emphasizes that inclusivity is not lost in the political conversation. The support that is represented here is rooted in shared values and a vision for a nation that prioritizes compassion, equity, and healing in this divisive political environment. The endorsement that we stand here today to support reflects the confidence that Vice President Harris will not only uphold these values, but will actively promote policies. It goes beyond upholding the value, but we must see policies that address the systemic challenges facing many American families today. And so as we leave here, we must mobilize and energize voters who seek leadership that authentically reflects our spiritual and moral convictions. Moreover, Harris's dedication to equity speaks to our responsibility to care for one another, and to get behind a vision that fosters hope, that transcends politics, and seeks to heal the wounds of our society. So as we prepare for those of us who still have yet to vote, let us remember that choosing the Harris Waltz ticket is more than a mere ballot cast. It is our powerful affirmation that our convictions and our desire is for a future that aligns with accountability and love. And this is our moment. This is our moment, symbolic of a pivotal shift in the political narrative, emphasizing the critical role that faith and values play in shaping the future of the United States of America. This is our moment to make our voices heard, to elect the only candidate, I said the only candidate who has the moral aptitude to lead this country, and that is Vice President Kamala Harris, next President of the United States of America. Yes!
Thank you, everyone. You know what time it is. It's time to vote early and get people to the polls, right? And you know who to vote for now, and we made the moral case.